Hello everyone, welcome to Marketing 452 Global Marketing. This is Chapter 7. In Chapter 7, let's talk about global marketing research. Right? Marketing research, do it globally. Okay. Do you know or do you happen to know where this picture is taken by any chance? Okay, pause for a couple of seconds. Okay. You might have recognized, yes, it is from Japan. Okay, this is a picture of a street, a busy street in Japan. You can see from the pictures and also the Japanese language signs out there. Okay? What about doing marketing research? How is it different from doing marketing research in Japan versus that in America? Okay? You bet the cultural differences is going to play a big role in the different ways of conducting research in the two markets. Okay? So learning objectives for this chapter. Yeah? In this chapter, we're going to list and describe the 4 steps involved in research process. Okay? We're going to differentiate between the challenges posed by secondary data collection and those posed by primary data collection. Note cultural differences in marketing research and explain ways in which marketing researchers can adjust to them. Describe problems related to comparability of studies undertaken in different national markets, and also explain the value of analysis by inference to global marketers, and note ways to monitor global competitors. Okay? And finally explain the requirements for global marketing information system. Okay? These are the learning objectives. We can talk about the scope of global marketing research, right? Challenges in planning the international marketing research, how to utilize secondary data, analysis by inference, collecting primary data, okay? outsourcing research, and studying the competition, and environmental review. These are the topics we're going to cover, okay? And the global marketing, global information system. Yeah. The scope, first the scope, right? Global marketing research is used to make both strategic and technical decisions, both strategic and technical decisions by the management. Right? For example, you want to study the market studies. You conduct market studies to study the size of the market. Size of the market. The size of the market is not necessarily the population of the country. Okay, not just like the population of country, and there may be like the country may have a huge population, but not as many people have the purchasing power to be a consumer, consumer. So many people probably just can barely get ends meet, and therefore have no discretionary income on the things or merchandise goods that you are selling. Okay? Also, you want to do market studies to find out what the customers in those countries need. What's their needs, right? You also want to do competitive studies. Competitive studies. The study is competitors, your competitors, right? You want to learn insights, domestic competitors and foreign competitors in the market that you're going. And also you need to conduct environmental studies, right? Like economic environment, political environment, legal environment, of course, physical environment as well as cultural environment. Right? That's what you need to find out through research. There are challenges in conducting global marketing research. Right? The global marketplace is very, very complex. Right? Differences from country to countries exist at many, many levels. Companies frequently lack familiarity with foreign markets. We just don't know enough about those foreign markets. Okay? Comparing studies across countries can be difficult. To compare studies from one country to another can be difficult. Okay? And international research is a relatively costly endeavor, very costly. Right? It's a costly endeavor to do that. Okay? There are success stories of international research. Let me give you some examples here. Right? One of them is called the CRISP. Right? The CRISP. We may not see CRISP in America, in our own country. Right? But this is actually by an American company, operating in Europe, right? The brand, right? They found that the Europeans, through marketing research, they found that the Europeans wanted to have a microwave that performed like a conventional oven. When you heat something, for example, you heat the food, right? Unlike the conventional oven where you actually have the food, heated and the food turns brown, right? Hopefully not burn too much, right? And the Europeans do not seem to like the idea that having the food not changing color, but is heated. Yeah? They want something that is more like conventional oven. So the Europeans, they want the microwave that perform that, right? So that's why the American maker actually created, developed a product, a brand called the Crisp. It's a Crisp brand of microwave that performed like a conventional oven, also turned the food brownish. Okay? That's a good story. Okay? A good success in research. Pepsi Max. Yeah, Pepsi Max. In this country, we have the competition between Coke and Pepsi, right? Coke and Pepsi, and Pepsi Cola is considered to be preferred by younger people also. And therefore, when the Pepsi introduces this product to the European countries, they positioned in Europe as a trendy youth drink, not a diet soda, and it was quite successful. Okay? Another success story is the retailer Zara. You might have seen Zara, right? Heard about Zara, right? This is a Spanish retailer, very successful retailer, Zara, right? What is this company known for? Great, superb marketing research, right? Zara can respond to fashion trends worldwide, worldwide faster, faster than most major competitors, like the Gap or Benetton. Gap, Benetton, right? They're just so fast. They turn out, you know, introduce a new fashion product anywhere in the world faster than competitors. So therefore, they're always ahead of the curve. Okay, these are the success stories. Okay? Research techniques. Yeah. First, what is the process that you go by in conducting global marketing research? Right. The first step, problem definition and research objective. So you define your problem and develop your research objectives. What do you want to achieve, through this research? And second, determination of the sources of information. Where do you get the data or the information? Right? Where could you get the data information? Do you want the primary data or secondary data? Right? Third, collection and analysis of the data from primary and secondary sources. Right? We'll get to that in just a minute. Right? Primary data versus secondary data. And then finally, last, analysis of the data and presentation of your results. Okay? In your group project, remember your group project? You have two projects, right? One is your individual project. Every one of you gonna give a little presentation, like a show and tell about the country, its culture, and there's a cultural dissimilarity between that country and that of the United States. Okay, that's your individual one. The group one, so you're going to introduce an American product to a foreign country where there is no such product in the country yet. Okay, so that's your presentation. Okay, the analysis of data and presentation of your results. Okay? And let's first talk about problem definition and research objectives. Yeah. What is the problem? Yeah. What is the problem? What information is needed? Okay. What information is needed? Sometimes the problems may differ among countries. The problems themselves are different from country to country. For example, in this country, we mostly use bicycles as a recreational tool, right? Exercise is a recreational tool, right? But that may not be the case in other countries. So in that country you're going, do consumers buy bicycles for sport or for transportation, right? In developing countries, the bicycle may be the transportation tool for family of three. You know? They're all on one bicycle. Okay? So to develop a bicycle for sports versus for transportation, you're gonna have different design, different features, right? So therefore, from that, then your next question is, do bikes compete with the skis and exercise equipment? Right? That is, if it is for sport, or with the mopeds and scooters. That is, it is for transportation. Okay, so you need to identify the problem. Okay, and develop your research questions. Right? How do you develop your research question? The two approaches here. Okay, one is called ethic approach. The other amic approach. Ethic versus amic. Right? This can be in your test. Okay, make sure you study that, understand the concept here. Ethic research, ethic approach. In ethic approach, you assume that the research question in one culture can be used in another culture. This approach allows for comparison across countries, but could miss cultural differences. Okay, that's ethic approach. Amic approach assumes cultures are so different that each requires a separate research study to capture the local context relative to each country's frame of reference. Okay, so you have to have a separate one for each and every one of them. That's called amic approach. Okay, but you need to make a decision on that. Okay. Next, how do you get the information? Collecting information. What are the sources of information? Okay. You can get collect your primary data. What's primary data? Data collected specifically for research assignment by yourself. Okay. Secondary data is one that refers to previously collected and available data. Somebody else did it. Okay? You can get it and access it and use it or look at it. Okay? But both present challenges to global marketing research. Okay? Let's look at the secondary data first. Okay? Secondary data first. First look at secondary data. Secondary data. Collection and analysis of secondary data should be done before primary data collection. Okay? Whatever research project you work on, you should consider, you should plan to get your secondary data first before you start collecting your primary data. Right? Because secondary data is usually available at a fraction of the cost of obtaining primary data, or oftentimes is free. Okay? Where do you get secondary data? Okay? Sources of secondary data: business and public libraries, okay? Online libraries, okay? Web search engines, okay? Consulates, okay? Consulates, embassies, chambers of commerce, okay? Non-competing businesses. Businesses not competing with you, right? They may be willing to share the data with you. Your bank, other banks, public accounting firms, they have those data. Commercially developed and marketed industry and country reports, right? National statistics, okay? These are the secondary data. But there may be problems with secondary data. All necessary data may not be available. What you're looking for may not be available, especially true in developing countries, right? Accuracy also may be suspect. The data from other country, other source may not be accurate, right? International Labor Organization estimates unemployment in Russia to be 10 million people, while Russian government reports 1.7 million unemployed. So this is from years ago, right? This is from years ago. Right? Also, in Chinese statistics, there's a term called the 水分 or water content, right? That's showing the inaccurate or even misreporting or falsification in Chinese statistical data. Okay? And accuracy, as I said, accuracy may be suspect. Okay? Private sector data collectors like Gallup poll in China are improving secondary data in developing countries. Right? Even in developed countries, some statistics are better than others. Some are better than others. Right? For example, data from Belgium, Spain, and Italy are worse than that from Canada, Holland, and France. Okay? And also data may not be comparable across countries. Okay? Statistics are not collected at the same time in each country. Right? The data may not be collected at the same time. So when you compare, that it's almost like comparing apple with orange. Right? Also, organization of data may vary. That is the cohabitation. For example, cohabitation, is that the marital category or what? Okay? Organization data may be a problem, may be different. Okay? Timeliness is often a problem. Right? Timeliness. Population statistics will usually be 2 to 5 years old. Right? For example, in this country, we conduct our census every 10 years, right? Now is 2023, right? The last one we had was 2020, okay? So we are between 2020 and 2030. So the data we have is already 3 years old, okay? Some country like Bolivia could be 25 years old before they conduct the next census, right? There are information that there is information from the Commerce Department that you can get. Okay, you can get like a country industry market reports, yeah, from Commerce website, agriculture market research, yeah, video market reports, industry and sector office reports, broad country information, okay, in-country feasibility studies, okay, trade agreements, trade statistics, right? And also links to region-specific programs the Commerce Department carried it out. Okay? Analytic techniques. Okay? What kind of techniques of analysis that you can use in your research? Right? You can conduct demand analysis. Okay? Demand analysis. What is demand of certain product in certain country? Okay? Relative market size. How big is the size of the market in the country? Right? Analysis of demand patterns. What are the patterns of demand over time or from region to region? Okay? Analysis by inference. Sometimes you may not have the direct information or direct observation, direct measurement. You may have to use proxy variables and then infer that to things you want. Okay. For example, this table, this is the older table though, right? This table shows the telephone coverage in developing countries. That's the telephone lines per 100 people. Right? You can see from as low as 0.05 half line in per 100 people. That's one phone line per every 200 people. Pakistan is 3, India 3.5, all the way to Hungary 32.3. Okay? Of course, this is the older data from landlines, and nowadays probably more people have cell phones, therefore they don't need landline phone, right? So could the level of telephone usage be a good proxy variable for other electronic devices like televisions? Before, probably so, right? Now you have to look at it again and look at it, think again, okay? Primary data. Let's talk about primary data, right? If you don't have access to secondary data, you may have to collect your own primary data, right? So primary data is necessary when secondary data is not available or is suspect, right? When marketers need data tailored to meet the needs of a specific marketing decision, you want to collect primary data. But there are challenges in primary data research, right? There, for example, experience in the Arab world, okay? And in some countries, in Arab countries like Saudi Arabia, mixed gender focus groups are forbidden. You cannot have focus group study with men and women in the same panel. You know, what do you do? Yeah. You do it separately, okay, and then combine the data. Right? In other countries such as Egypt, women only often defer to men in their focus groups, even if those men are not their family members. Okay? And in this country, we do more intercepts a lot, right? We do more intercept to get your questionnaire answered, right? To ask them questions, right? But more intercepts are uncommon, yeah, and in Arab countries. And approaching strangers is not normally acceptable. You just cannot do that, okay? So what do? You find other ways to collect your data, okay? Other ways to collect your data, okay? Also, not all methods are used in the same way in every country. Even in the same method, you may not be doing that the same way as in other countries. For example, in-person interviewing is very difficult among Japanese managers. They don't like that very much. Okay? Mail surveys virtually impossible in India. You want to mail those survey questionnaire in India, forget about it. Okay? Mail surveys were very successful in Germany. The Germans, they like that. Okay? You can get a good response rate. Okay? Telemarketing is very popular in France. Okay? Observation is particularly useful in the Middle East countries. Okay? So you have to tailor your research methodology to the country's conditions. Right? Developing a marketing research instrument. Right? You can use a focus group. Right? Focus groups help capture appropriate variables to investigate. You can create a cross-cultural questionnaire, right? But the cross-cultural questionnaire, make sure you want to use a back translation or a parallel translation, because you create a questionnaire in English, you go to another country, how do you know the questionnaire is translated correctly, or people could understand your questions correctly, right? You may translate it over to that language and translate back to see if it is correct. Or you can use a parallel translation, have two group of people doing the translation for you. Okay? Also, you need to take care of those idiomatic expressions. For example, computers in Taiwanese may become calculators to Singaporeans, right? 计算器 to Taiwanese is computers, okay? To Singaporeans, calculators, okay? Also, for example, there's a camera manufacturer that did a survey in Latin America, right? And they use direct translation, right? In direct translation, in English, is I get a good shot every time I use it. I get a good shot every time I use it for using this camera, right? But you translate into Spanish direct translation. It's like I get a good gunshot every time I use it. You can see that's not good, right? So you need to change, modify that. Okay. Primary data sources, source of primary data. How do you get it? How do you get those data? How do you collect data? Right? Survey is one. Right? Survey. Importance of probability samples is very important here. Yeah, very important here. You need to get the probability sample to make your survey data meaningful. Right? Every element within the population has an equal chance of being selected. That's a probability sample. Right? Every person, every respondent get equal chance to be selected. Okay? So this blue column here, blue cylinder here is your population you want to generalize about. Then you from that pool you take out your sample with the red sphere. Here is your sample. Okay. So there are different type of samples. Okay, different types of types as to the type of samples. They are the probability samples versus non-probability samples. What's the difference here? Right. For probability samples, every respondent, every person, every one a subject get some chance, statistically chance to be called upon. Right. You can have simple random sampling here, right? You can have systematic sample, you can have stratified sample. Right? Non-probability samples, you can have convenience sample, judgment sample, snowball sampling, and quota sampling. Okay, let's look at some others here, right? Another thing is you want to pay attention to is what population is under investigation. What population is under investigation? Okay? Is a probability sample possible? Sometimes it may not be possible. Okay, because if you want to have a pure probability sample, you need to have a list of respondents or households. That may not be available. Right? Telephone directories do not work in Mexico. You cannot use that. Right? Snowball sampling may be necessary in some developing countries. You should use that. Okay? And supervising data collectors. Supervising data collectors. How do you supervise? Especially in developing countries, it's very important. Make sure they do it right. Right? Where, how to collect data varies by country to country. The Japanese prefer face-to-face interviews and are reluctant to answer phone surveys. Okay? And focus group. Right? Alternative to surveys, you can conduct focus group study. Right? In Vietnam, they love them. For some reason, they just love focus group studies. Again, you can conduct them. And observation can be used, like when you watch Cubans, how Cubans shop. You can observe that. Right? For observation, we use consumer ethnography, a theory of consumer ethnography, to do the observation. Right? You may have to use trained anthropologists to do that. Okay? You may have to use visual cues like photo, video, supported by field notes. Take notes and take videos, take short photos, pictures. Okay? You need to capture the elements of decor, design, aesthetics, color, fashion, and icons in your study. Okay? Insight from observation. Videotaping households in Thailand. Right? Some researchers used videotaping for households consumption in Thailand. It reveals multitasking mothers, right? Moms feeding baby while watching TV and or cooking all at the same time. Right? P&G Procter& Gamble believes that this could inspire products and packaging design to give it an edge over its rivals. Okay? They did just that in Thailand. Hmm? Privacy concerns. They are privacy concerns in marketing research, right? Personal finance can be a touchy subject in many countries. The Dutch, the Dutch are more willing to discuss sex than money. Okay? The EU countries have this privacy directive that limits the use of telephone internet interviews. Right? In particular, questions related to subjects such as health, political beliefs, and sex habits are restricted. Okay? Restricted. Okay? The U.S. has a U.S. safe harbor framework that provides a streamlined way for U.S. firms to comply with the European standards. Okay? So check on that if you want to go to European countries. Okay? Also, from country to country, even you ask the same question to the consumers in different countries, and they answer the same score, they may not mean the same thing. Okay, like for example, you ask the people in Brazil, Japan, and U.S. This question: how satisfied are you with the product X? You ask them this question, right? In Brazil, Japan, and U.S., they all answered the 8, you know, the mean answer, right? The mean scores. 1 being not satisfied at all, 10 extremely satisfied. Is the American 8 and Japanese 8 the same? Not really. Okay? Because in America, we tend to, in Brazil too, probably, we tend to express our feelings, extreme feelings, very, very happy, very satisfied, or very extremely dissatisfied. Okay? So it's easy for us to answer an 8 or 9 or 10. Okay? But it's not that easy for the Japanese one. They're more reserved, right? They're more reserved, restrained. So for the Japanese to answer an 8 is probably equivalent of an American answer of a 9 or 10. So you need to interpret the scores, in different culture, with the vigilance. Okay, be careful. Comparing studies across cultures, scalar equivalence. That's what I'm talking about, right? Is 8 a good number or not, right? There's scalar equivalence here, right? There could be courtesy bias. Courtesy bias. People feel that they want to be nice to others. We all have compassion as part of our innate characteristics, right? We want to please other people. So there is a courtesy bias, but the courtesy bias may be an obstacle to your accurate assessment of their true scores or true feelings. Okay? Studying the competition. Let's talk about how do you study the competitors, in the country. Okay? Identify core competencies to predict future direction of competitors. That's what you need to do. You need to identify core competencies to predict the future direction of your competitors. Right? You need to conduct company statistics. Right? You need to gather those statistics, learn about their past. You need to know their marketing operations. Yeah. You need to learn about their future intentions and competitive behavior. Okay? Monitor competition. How do you monitor competition, right? For example, you want to look at their company statistics, overall company statistics, like their sales number, their market share, their profits, right? Their balance sheet, right? Their capital expenditures, the number of employees they have, the increase or decrease in their number of employees, production capacity, and are they at full capacity or underuse of the capacity, underutilization of the capacity, right? What's their R&D capability? Okay, that's about company statistics, right? What about their marketing operations, right? What type of product do they have? The quality, the performance, the features, functions that they have, right? What's their service warranty or product warranty granted? Right? What's their pricing? What are the prices? What's their pricing strategy? Okay, does you get skipping strategy, or what, or low cost strategy, or what? Okay? Their advertising strategy, and how much they spend, the budget. Okay? The size and type of their sales force. How big is the sales force that they have? How many people do you employ as the salespeople, right, to compete with you? Right? The distribution system, including their entry strategy. How did they enter this country market? Okay? Did they use import export, or did they use foreign production, joint ventures, strategic alliance, or what? Okay? Their delivery schedules, also the spare parts, right? The sales territories. How do they classify or divide their geographic sales territories? Right? Like in this country, for example, we have Northeast, the Southeast, Midwest, okay? South and West Coast. Okay? Next, you want to monitor your competitors about their future intentions. What do they want to do? Where do they want to go? Right? Their new product development. What's being developed now? What are the new things they're going to come out and introduce to the market? Right? Their current test markets. Right? Where do they do the test market? The scheduled planned capacity expansions. Are they expanding now? Planned capital expenditures. Are they planning to spend more money or investment in some things? Plan the entry into new markets and countries. Okay, you find that out about. Okay? Competitive behavior, right? Competitive behavior, the pricing behavior, right? Their reaction to competitive moves, past and expected. These are the things you need to study about your competitor. You need to monitor their activities. Okay. Also, there are other types of research studies useful for international marketers, like competitive intelligence. Okay, you may have brand category awareness, okay, right? Category use analysis, use of the product in the product category, and the concept tests of new product concept, new branding concept, their brand positioning strategies, yeah, and the new product and services that they introduce. Okay, I think that's all I have for this chapter. That's all I have. Thank you. I'll see you next chapter. Okay. Oops. Oh, sorry. There's more. There's a segmentation. There's a pricing research, right? Just on research by pricing. Also about the advertising effectiveness research, pre-launch and post-launch, and of course you want to do a customer satisfaction study. Okay? I think that's all I have for this chapter. Okay.